Tonight, SeaLaunch files for Chapter 11, which looks a lot like this. Obama's being compared to Kennedy, NASA's looking for leaks, and different options for the Space Shuttle replacement. Do we go with the Constellation program as is? Do we go with NASA's Plan B or something a little bit more like direct? Who knows? Let's talk about it. All that and a whole lot more coming up on this June 26th edition of Spacevidcast. This is the all-new 3 frames per second version of Spacevidcast. Look at this.
I can do the robot really easily.
Cam twist fail. Welcome to Spacevidcast. My name is Benjamin Higginbotham. With me is a beautiful, lovely, wonderful, talented, and yes, it's really her, Carrie Ann Higginbotham. We are the Spacevidcasters. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in space and all around space. You know, we were mentioning in the car earlier that there seems to be a lot more interest, like in the last month or so, just a lot more interest in space travel and space in general for some reason. And it could be because of the Apollo 40th.
It's funny because you say some reason. I'm like, well, Apollo 40th is coming up. It's the year of Apollo 40th. Like, you know, all of this stuff. Granted, like we said, when we started this podcast, I said, you have a month worth of topics top. And then after that, we're done.
And yet here we are, a year and something later, and we're still going.
Exactly.
And, you know, there's a brand new website that we wanted to bring up. It's called eva.com.
EVA.com, and then .com.
Yep. And they've got some great podcasts and whatnot, but they also have these really cool shirts that are available for sale.
Love them.
And you can go to evadot.com. Thanks, guys. It's a lot like saying /. And actually, we have a picture of those shirts if you want. They're down yonder somewhere. And the shirts are really cool. We really like them. And we saw those. We're like, hey, those are really awesome. So there you go.
Cool.
Check it out. The one on the left, you've got the neat little rocket thing. I think that's my favorite. Then the one in the middle, you got the cool little rocket from the base. And they have a bunch of different styles with these different
Men's
images.
and women's.
Yep. Now, and of course, we don't get anything for promoting this.
No.
We're not saying you have to buy anything.
But
we just thought they were really cool. And the point is, though, that not only do they have a store with these cool shirts, they've got a podcast that they've started. They've got a blog.
The entire website is just really amazing, and we've tried to connect up a little bit, so I'm going to try and reblog some of the stuff that Michael's got over on his blog, put it over here, so we can kind of cross-pollinate a little bit. He takes a little bit more serious tone in general.
We don't.
And we don't, well, because he's smarter than us, so... That's pretty much it. But
have they done the Moon Pie Challenge?
They have not, but we are working on that.
But even outside of that, you know, we've got the Space Week on Science Channel that has been going on this entire past week, and if you're watching this show, you missed it. So congratulations.
TiVo people, hello.
TiVo. You know what's really funny? Space Week, I don't think I've watched any of it.
Well, that's not true. We have watched it. We watched it before it was Space Week.
I suppose that's true.
So but, it's like, oh, seen that, never mind.
Space Week on Science Channel. And it looks like there's just tons we've got the Space Tweep Society that's been formed.
Awesome.
You know, it's pretty cool. It feels like once a week there's a brand new space-related website.
Buzz Aldrin is doing, besides rapping with Snoop Dogg.
That's an awesome, we can't show it on Spacevidcast because of copyright, but search YouTube for Buzz Aldrin rap.
Yeah, assuming you guys haven't seen it because everyone's seen it.
Really funny.
I don't even know how many times I got tweeted about that or anything along those lines. But in any case, besides that, he's also doing his book tour right now.
Yep.
So he's going around the country. If you guys are anywhere near, please go. He is just, besides what he has already done, he's still an interesting guy. You know how like some people, they sort of like kind of live back in the day of like, oh, well, when I created the whatever.
He keeps looking forward.
He keeps looking forward, exactly. And he's just amazing and very energetic and I don't know. For an old guy, he's not too bad.
Speaking of looking forward, that's what we're going to be talking about on the back half of the show. We're going to be looking forward to what NASA's going to do to get to the moon. Is it going to be Aries? Is it going to be the side-mounted shuttle? Is it going to be direct? What are their options? What can we do?
Absolute Space Girl, jealous. Keep going.
What? Buzz Aldrin kissed Absolute Space Girl?
Even Ben's
jealous
about
I'm jealous.
that.
I'm not sure. It's kind of
just
awkward right now. I'm not sure what to say. So looking forward with all that stuff, and Buzz Aldrin talked about a little bit about that at the ISDC conference 2009 in Orlando. And if you'd like to see that, you can go to spacevidcast.com/ISDC 2009 or just search for ISDC on Spacevidcast and check out Buzz Aldrin. We've got his entire keynote right there that you can watch
over lunch.
And he the first part, I'll be frank, the first part, meh. It was a little bit more read, it was a little more scripted, but then after that, he kind of started really getting into it and really interacting with everyone.
Right.
That was pretty
the part
cool.
that you paid for the keynote, if that makes any sense. It's like the other stuff, I'm sure
Well, you pay for everything, but this was
a
$150 ticket versus a $600 ticket.
Right, but what my point is, though, that you go in and, like you said, I mean, it was a little bit more read. It's probably a talk that he's given before. It's probably a talk you can get a hold of somewhere else on the internet. But that last part is the part that's like...
last half.
Right, if you weren't there, you didn't see it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, we saw it, and we broadcasted it,
But you needed to be there.
Right, you needed
because
to be there.
There's always that. There's just something you can't. There's something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Oh well, you had to be there. That was the part that you had to be there for.
That and the fact that Buzz Aldrin was there and
awesome.
20 feet away from you. That was pretty cool.
Amazing.
I was too scared to be like, you're awesome. You walked on the moon. I'm a nerd.
Yeah, he walked within about 4 feet of me, and I total just didn't say anything. I was just like, Absolute Space Girl got to I'm starting to hate Absolute Space Girl. I'm completely jealous in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah, no kidding.
Escort him, space camp. I don't even know what to do.
So on the note of all the new cool space things that are popping up, if you guys see neat, new, interesting, I'm stuttering at this point. We're talking about Buzz Aldrin. I'm like da. If you see neat, new, interesting stuff,
yes. Let us know.
Let us know. Benjamin at spacevidcast.com, Carrie Ann at spacevidcast.com. I'm at BenCredible. Twitter, you're at Carrie Ann.
Yep.
Let us know. We'd love to post it. We'd love to talk about it. We'd love to share it with the entire community. It's cool stuff.
Very, very, very.
With that, I think it's time to get started with a little bit of space news. Space news. Oh, whew.
We weren't sure.
I was waiting for space news to fail. Okay.
But it didn't fail.
I was so worried about space news. You got to get it out of preview though, because our frame rate's dead. I was so worried about space news failing that I forgot what we were talking about. Oh, SeaLaunch with you saw it in the intro, has filed for Chapter 11.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
That's pretty much the end of the story.
Well,
Chapter 11 doesn't mean that they're done, though.
No. It doesn't. And this is public knowledge, of course. It's been put out. We actually got the notice, if you will. It's right on their website. They've got the entire media release and all of the reorganization.
Chapter 11 doesn't mean shut down. It just means reorganize, reform.
Right.
I think it's Chapter 13, if I remember correctly. It means we're done. Can you?
Right. That's my
news?
understanding.
That won't work. You keep talking. I'll be right back.
Sorry. So Chapter 11 is just the reorganization. They owe a lot of money. Yeah, Chapter 11 comes before Chapter 12. They owe a lot of money. They clearly are not making up the deficit that they've got going on. But so they're trying to reorganize some stuff and figure out this, that, and the other, and other stuff like that. So
that's a good question. Push to play asks, will the Augustine Commission look at them after they're done with NASA? Well, they're not part of, SeaLaunch isn't part of NASA, so I don't know why the Commission would look at them per se, or look at them as an alternate launch platform. I don't think they actually have the capability.
They can't do the big launches, which is the unfortunate.
Well, the Aries 5 type launches.
Right,
the big,
but they can do like the cute little satellite launches, but, so can Space America, or Space Mexico is what I'm trying to say.
Space America. Space America port. The awesome part about SeaLaunch and why SeaLaunch was such a good idea is because they can get like right dead on the equator. And when you do that, my understanding is, and I would love a rocket scientist because we have some in the room to certainly comment on this, is that you can actually bring about 10 to 13% more payload up because there's an additional maneuver you do not need to perform while ascending.
Right. And they can go anywhere they want, especially right at the equator, which is nice.
Yes. They just roll out their ships right to the equator and
they're
boom,
on a boat.
Off you go. So as Carbon says, you can bring more payload, but he's not sure how much. The number I saw that was in
like
a trusted
10 to
article was
13.
10 to 13%.
Yeah.
It depended upon a few variables, was my understanding, but that was the number that I saw. I didn't actually just make up 10 to 13%. That's kind of a weird number to make up. So this doesn't mean that SeaLaunch is going away.
No.
I really kind of liked SeaLaunch because, you got to see the cool explosion video.
Well, right. They were one of the very few people that sort of opened themselves up to the community as a whole.
Kinda.
Well, but for the most part, I mean, they didn't have a Twitter account, but we could tap into their
SpaceX, by the way.
But we could tap into their feed. We could show what was going on. They were always, they would let us know. Let us know. They would call me up and say,
"Hey,
this is
and
the satellite we're using.
We're going to launch. You want to cover us?"
But the media was readily available and it was easy to access, and that's really important. And I think that's a very big deal. And I appreciate that about them a lot.
And SpaceX does the same thing, but. It was an interesting company. It was a really interesting concept. I think they'll actually get out of this because I think that if they can survive until 2010, 2011, I think we're going to start to see a boom in this market.
Everyone's going to need them.
This is the next big economy, in my humble but accurate opinion. And so SeaLaunch has the opportunity to do some really cool things, but they're going to get stiff competitions from competition. We're going to get stiff competition from the likes of SpaceX.
Yes.
And companies that haven't even been formed yet.
Like Space Mexico.
Like Space Mexico. Space Mexico.
I like them.
President Obama is being compared to President Kennedy. Check out our cool graphic. Unfortunately, he eats the live chat room in that particular...
He does a little bit, which is kind of unfortunate.
That wasn't really designed with the chat room in mind, was it?
No, it wasn't. But
oopsies.
It's still a very, very cool...
So why is he being compared to President Kennedy?
We're kind of coming up, across, up against. We're coming to that point where Ben's drinking again. Stop it. Where Obama is going to need to make some very important, big decisions when it comes to NASA and the space program in general.
Right.
And Kennedy kind of came up to the same. It was for a completely different reason, completely different situation. We're not at war. We're not trying to get to the moon.
Well, there was a space race. No one had gone to the moon yet. No one had done this stuff. And Russia, frankly, was kicking our butt.
Yeah.
They were just obliterating us in every way, shape, and form.
Right. But basically, in this particular, we don't have something pushing our hand at this point. But... unless you want to call the economy.
Well, there's the Space Race 2.0. We've got China, we've got Russia kind of doing it again.
Right.
I mean, it's a different kind of push. It's more of a gentle nudge.
That's what I'm saying. It's not this, ever-present, prevalent sort of like, you must get it done now. However, the choices that he's making now are going to be very, very big choices. Even though if they sound like they're little choices, it's the fallout from whatever it is that he chooses is going to be huge. And so I think that's where
it doesn't have to be fallout. I mean, it could be good.
Well, it's good fallout. I don't know. It's a domino effect. This is the domino. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Here's where I disagree a little bit in that Kennedy basically was there at the formation of NASA. So they could do whatever it is they wanted to do in structuring NASA. And they built NASA with the Cold War kind of in mind. They structured across the country. There's a center in... there are centers all across the country. That way you could bomb one part of the country, you could take out one section of NASA, but the rest of NASA is still there.
Right.
Well, that's not exactly the most efficient way to do things anymore.
Not so much.
We can't go back on that anymore.
Right.
We've already got all of this legacy infrastructure and this legacy mindset and this legacy everything, and I'm just not sure that NASA, no matter what Obama does, no matter what he says we need to do, I'm not sure NASA is agile enough to make the changes necessary to make it happen. The only organizations I think that are going to be able to do that, in my humble opinion, may not be accurate this time, would be privatized space travel.
Well, right, but he could also make decisions kind of pushing the entire industry in that way. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, as GUCP says, and I completely agree, NASA needs new young blood.
Absolutely. Yes, there definitely needs to be some sort of transfusion. Totally, I completely agree. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's kind of coming up to a point where he could make some decisions that sound like they're bad for NASA, but are actually going to be great for the privatized space industry. It's definitely a balancing act, and it's totally the plate spinning on the sticks, and you've got to keep a couple of them going at the same time. And I do not envy this man in any way, shape, or form.
He's got a lot of things.
In this particular, yeah.
Well, what I will say is he's going to make choices that will either help us get to the moon or will prevent us from getting to the moon from a government agency standpoint.
Right.
I do not see, at least in my little horizon meter, my crystal ball as it were, I do not see any privatized companies really making an actual effort, I don't want to say actual effort, I haven't seen a plan that is valid for going to the moon from a private company yet. Nothing that's actually doable. Nothing from a funded company that could make it there within the next 15 years.
Right.
Now, because they're private companies, they can move much quicker than the government, so they may not need as much time. I understand that, but I don't see anything happening there, and I'm afraid that if the government doesn't go back to the moon, more importantly, in my opinion, onto Mars, that the private companies won't do it.
Thank you, Buzz Jr.
But really?
Yeah, that's totally what he's saying.
Kind of what he says. I didn't agree with everything he said. All right.
I know.
Speaking of NASA, they're looking for leaks.
They are.
Still.
Yeah. So we're talking about STS-127. I know you guys are really chomping at the bit for the information and what's going on with STS-129. And there's a lot of rumors and all kinds of weird things that are circulating out there. And so we didn't really want to touch it at this point. They're still investigating. We are still investigating. There's a lot of stuff. So we didn't really want to go there. However, talking about STS-127, you remember the GUCP?
We got a picture of it. There you go. The I know, but it's fun to call it the GUCP.
The GUP. I know. Anyhow, so early next week, they're supposed to be doing...
Because we know how it's pronounced. But come on, it looks like...
Okay, anyway.
We're cracking ourselves up. No one else thinks it's funny but us, but I think it's funny.
Words.
Yeah, Uncle BS is going to have to transcribe this. They're going to try to figure out what words do we put for...
You just smash your fist on the computer and that's... It's like the cat was, there. That's what you do. Anyhow, so they're going to try and do some fueling tests next week. To see where the leaks are and stuff like that. That's
a big deal because they got fueling that thing up is not a short, easy thing, and then they're going to have to detank. They're going to have to detank the whole thing again too.
Right. My understanding is that they're not using actual fuel, but they're using it's not a fuel simulant. What am I trying to say? But something that.
It's my wife, ladies and gentlemen.
Shut up! I hate all of you. So no, they're not
lower octane. Just a lower octane fuel. Is that what they're going to?
They're going to use water. I don't know what they're using, but they're using something so it won't be as flammable and we won't have to worry about it nearly as much. We just want to see if there's leaks or not, and that's pretty much what it is.
They're going to do like the test where you take the colored water and stick it in there and see where it's leaking out, one of those
yes.
little colored water?
Yes.
All right. When we come back, actually, before we do that, because we're going to have the Crow River Coffee
I do love
commercial.
You guys. You know I do. You absolutely know. And you love me simply because I screw up all the time.
Well, yeah, I'm
Makes
right there
him
with
look
you.
better.
Although I do look pretty awesome on my own. We're going to go to break and we're going to do the Crow River Coffee commercial. And as you guys know, we'll do that first. As you guys know, we are hosted by the Crow River Coffee Company. This is all done in the coffee company, in the back part of the company. And they've built? They've built their own blend of coffee Blast-Off blend. Check that out. Now, this is actually someone's bag of Blast-Off blend.
This is Uncle BS's
Uncle
bag.
BS wrote. He bought that bag. I think we're going to sign it. I'm going to sign it right now.
Oh,
Should I
Ben's
sign it
gonna
over
sign it.
Yeah, Uncle BS wants it signed. He doesn't know that he wants it signed, but it's going to be worth way more money.
Well, and...
way more money this way. I don't know where to sign it. Should I sign it here?
Sure.
There you go. Here, sign that.
Great.
Check that.
Yeah, actually, somebody was asking earlier if we could sing it, but I don't know if I'm up for that. There we go. So there, signed by Benjamin and me.
Now, the reason he got this signed is because right before the show started, he ordered this bag of coffee, and this is his bag. We'd like to thank him very much for helping support the Crow River Coffee Company, who helps support us, who helps support you get your feed of us every week. So by buying this, you're helping yourself.
There you go.
We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to the Crow River Coffee Company in Watertown, Minnesota. Situated on the bank of the beautiful Crow River, we offer espresso drinks, delicious food, live music, bulk beans, and artisan items. You can see us at crowrivercoffee.com. Thanks.
You are. Look how red you are. He was like, oh, I did something kind of... I wish you guys could see him right now. He just... Okay, anyway, I can't believe it's not butter. He was like, I did something fun with the calendar this week. And I'm like, yeah, okay, have fun with that. You know,
I do that a lot, actually. I put a lot of Easter eggs in the calendar because I figure, maybe they're not reading it. This just entices them.
Well, there's like, you write like an entire paragraph.
No, I steal from Wikipedia is what I do.
You're
I'm like, I'm too lazy.
Exactly. It's totally like NASA. And then when they decided to go across the... Like,
I know. I totally did. I completely dissed SpaceX in that. I'm like, will this one blow up too?
So, yeah, I know every once in a while you just take out like one sentence in the middle of it. You're not really reading this. And then they decided to, well.
Yeah. It's fun.
You know what, though? SpaceX can take it. For those of you guys who saw the ISDC panel that SpaceX was on, she freely admitted and said beforehand, I will take even the dark, dirty, downright mean questions. I will take them. I want them.
And she did.
And she did. She took them. She read them. She tried to answer. She didn't really answer, but that's beside the point.
SpaceX knows we love them. We kid because we care.
And actually, for those of you questioning us, making fun of SpaceX, they have ordered a few pounds of coffee from us.
This kind? Actually, no.
No, I don't think they could at the time, but they probably will soon.
Yeah.
And
actually, here's a little insider secret.
Yes.
Once SpaceX ordered that coffee, we realized they ordered it. Mm-hmm. That's when we were like, maybe we should make our own blend of coffee, and that's where this was born out of. So you can all thank SpaceX for Blast-Off blend.
So, yeah, there you go. They love us, we love them.
Yeah,
it's a little push nudge, you know.
SpaceX is awesome, and frankly, I think the future of space travel is in the hands of companies like SpaceX, Virgin Galactic, Armadillo Aerospace, so forth and so on. But today's main topic is two things. First, it's our anniversary today, so happy anniversary.
Hi, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. And second, Space Shuttle. It's going to be retired in 2010. And what are we going to replace it with? Aries. And there was an argument that broke out earlier in the chat room. If you missed it, go back, because Jeff was all like, "Oh, direct! You have to go direct." And I forgot who said it. But
tinfoil hat on too.
I forgot who said it, but they were like, "Oh, Aries just needs more money," and he's like, "More money?" So
what do you mean?
Yeah, that's fundamentally the problem. For those who don't know, Aries is the next generation launch lifter vehicle for NASA's moon program, Constellation.
Right.
Whew, that came out rough.
Moon program.
The problem with Aries, well, where do we begin? Here's what we've got. Check out this chart. Just kind of gives us a past to present.
Right.
On the left, we've got a Saturn V rocket. That's what got us to the moon the first time. Pretty big, pretty awesome. That's 60s technology.
Right. People have seen that before. You know what that is. Blah blah blah.
Then we move on to 70s technology. Believe it or not, the space shuttle really is 70s technology.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got next. And that's what we've been using for the last, we'll call it 30 years. Whatever. Next to that, directly to the right, you've got the Aries 1, and that's and that's the rocket portion of it. The very top of it is actually the Orion crew capsule, but the rocket portion of it, and the Aries 1 is pretty much a 5-segment solid rocket booster. It's kind of like the two white things on the side of the big orange tank for the space shuttle,
right?
But a little bit
on
bigger.
Top of each other.
Well, they're not on top.
Well,
there's only one as opposed to two,
right.
And instead of 4 segments, it's 5 segments. Never been tested, and frankly, one of the problems is that, well, there are many problems. One of the problems is the solid rocket boosters were never designed to have stuff put on top of them, and yeah, they're saying it won't fly. You guys get the idea. The other problem is that because of its shape, they've got a lot of vibration and just things that will pretty much kill the crew, and they're having to dampen the vibration, which is making it much heavier.
Shape. Look how big it's bigger on top than it is on the bottom, as opposed to you go back to the an Atlas rocket, and it's bigger on the bottom. Like what you think of a rocket should be, bigger on the bottom and smaller on the top. So
then we move on one more to the right. So the Aries 1 is designed to bring crew into space. The Aries 5, which is the one directly to the right, that's designed to bring cargo into space. A whole freaking lot of cargo. In fact, that Aries 5 can lift more into low Earth orbit than the Saturn V can, which is on the far left. That's the Aries 5. Now, we haven't even really begun doing a whole lot with the Aries 5. We're still stuck on the Aries 1, throwing more and more and more and more money, billions and billions of dollars at the Aries 1, and we still don't have a usable vehicle, and they've still delayed the Aries 1 test flights. So now directly to the right of that is actually an Aries 4. My understanding is the Aries 4 has actually been dropped off the map. We're not even considering that anymore. That's been like, we're done with that. No need for an Aries 4. That's the plan as it stands today. Now, one quick aside before, well, this is all right. Didn't the shuttle look awesome? I mean, I realize it's the smallest vehicle in that list, but it was definitely the coolest looking vehicle there. I know. I get on this soapbox every time, but it just is a cool looking vehicle.
I still like the Atlas. I like the original.
Now, many Spacevidcasters, and you hear this week in and week out, especially if you watch the chat room at the bottom, many Spacevidcasters don't think that Aries is going to ever fly, or if it does fly, it'll jackknife once it gets off the pad, or that's assuming it ever can get off the pad.
Right.
There are people who think that there is simply too much weight and Aries will not be capable of lifting it up. Bad news. So what happens? Oh, and it's radically over budget, radically late. We don't even know if Aries is going to be a viable vehicle.
Right.
Aries 1, let alone Aries 5 or 4 or 7 or 19 or whatever.
Yeah.
So what do we do? What's plan B? Well, NASA has a plan B. In fact, they call it Plan B. It is not a pregnancy thing, as everyone constantly jokes about.
I was like, can I get that at Target?
No, you cannot get NASA Plan B at Target.
Target!
This is their Plan B as has been presented thus far.
Right.
And what this is you can see on the left the current space transportation system. That's the current space shuttle.
Yep.
What they're looking to do is basically rip the space shuttle off. It's funny that for all the next generation space, the replacement of the space shuttle, the first thing we do is throw the space shuttle away. They mentioned that in the Augustine Commission.
Of all the replacements of the shuttle, just get rid of the shuttle.
Get rid of the shuttle, exactly.
We hate that thing.
We're pretty much going to take another booster, strap it where the shuttle used to be, use the existing infrastructure for the shuttle for, going up into space. Now, there are certain side effects and downfalls to this particular configuration. The first of which is that it is not as powerful as the Aries 5. It cannot bring as much mass into orbit.
Right.
And the other problem is that in the side mount shuttle configuration, the lunar lander would have to shrink from a planned 48 metric tons to around 28 metric tons.
Wow.
So it's not quite in half, but we're going to call that in half.
That's still, that's a huge, huge difference.
Now, to put that into perspective, though, the Apollo lunar lander was around 16 metric tons, so it's still larger than the Apollo lunar lander. And
but
people
not
like
enough to say that we did something.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? It's
kind of
like the percentages don't add up. It's like houses used to be 10% smaller. In 1950 they were blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Well, that percentage doesn't hold. That's like a 0.3% increase. Who cares?
Right. So yes. Now the other problem is that we're going back to the moon to stay, and the lunar lander for the Apollo missions didn't have to be very big because it wasn't there to stay.
Right.
Yeah,
it was
this
an
time
outpost.
This time we're building an outpost.
Outpost.
An outpost. I'm not sure if the side mount shuttle configuration will work, and I've got a cost estimate.
But there are a lot of people who are coming up with outpost stuff for the moon that are like inflatable. They don't have to be, whatever size they are at the time that they leave Earth, right? So I mean that's got to help, no?
Put this into perspective really quick.
Perspective.
Perspective.
Okay.
The current Aries 1 cost has been $35 billion with a Benny up front. Billion.
Yes.
Dollars.
Okay.
They think they can do that side mount, and this is a very, very rough number. They're not entirely sure yet. For $6.6 billion with a Benny up front. Dollars.
Okay.
That's a lot less money.
Yes.
So I would say go for something that's a lot cheaper, and then tack onto it, build it bigger over time, kind of like you saw on the graph. It just kept getting like bigger, 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 and eventually they're like, giant thing, go to moon, right?
Well, I mean, and somebody else had mentioned that. I think it might have even been Kai. It's sort of like, wow, well, we like the shuttle. We know the shuttle kind of works, so why don't we just make it bigger?
Kinda. Actually, as GUCP says, he doesn't think NASA's going to go back to the moon unless private companies do it first. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure the private companies have any reason to go back to the moon other than maybe mining helium-3 or just doing it so they can say they've done it.
Right.
Unless they look at a space tourist option.
Right.
But even then, I'm not sure you'd put something on the moon. Maybe you would just orbit the moon, like a Bigelow thing that orbits through and kind of orbits between the moon and Earth in a figure eight.
Colbert Hotel?
The Colbert Hotel, absolutely. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Anyhow, I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that there is a side mount option. Now, of course, and Jeff, if this is where he's going to kick in, there's always the direct option, and we've got the direct 3.0 animation, so we'll play that for you. Direct is the kind of what Aries was originally supposed to be, sort of in a way. Aries is molded and morphed into this weird bastard child that it just isn't what it originally set out to be. And it originally set out to be reusing a good chunk of the shuttle infrastructure. And here you can see this is the space shuttle. So what's the first thing we do? That's right, we take the space shuttle and we throw it away. All right, then we take the same engines and the same solid rocket boosters as they are right now, and the engines that came off of the space shuttle, and we're going to attach those. We're going to get a little skirt on the bottom. It's going to be cute. We can give it like a little...
Can we call it some girly name?
Sure, we'll give it some pleats.
Like Ariel?
Ariel.
What?
We're going to take the space shuttle main engines, we're going to tack them back onto the bottom, so we're using the existing main engines. And in this configuration, I believe it uses 3 space shuttle main engines. And Jeff, if you can correct me if that's incorrect. You can see how we're reassembling this whole thing. We're taking the existing external tank, the existing solid rocket boosters, the existing space shuttle main engines. We're adding everything up top, and we're just configuring it, and boom, there you go. There's a Jupiter 130, or what they're calling the Aries 3 completed model. Now, we want to move into something a little bit bigger so we can get some more mass into orbit. We take off the top. We just change it out. We add another space shuttle main engine to the bottom of it.
This is like Legos.
It really kind of is. And that's part of the reason why direct is so appealing, is because we're using so much of the existing infrastructure, the existing space shuttle technology, but we're turning it into something that instead of only at best being able to make it about 300 miles up, now we can go to the moon with it. And there you saw the final Jupiter configuration, Jupiter direct configuration. Yeah, mutant shuttle.
But you guys, no offense here, but I don't see what's wrong with a mutant shuttle. I really don't, because it seems to me that a lot of these parts are already around, already accessible, et cetera, et cetera. People already know how to make them, which is kind of a big deal. I mean, even for something as stupid as making a new cookie shape, even if you had the same flavors as you did before, you have to reconfigure the entire, structure to make this new shape. And that's kind of stupid.
Well, they're still going to have to reconfigure a good chunk of it because the shape is changing. So the RSS, the rotating service structure, that's going to have to go away regardless because take the orbiter, throw it away.
But that's what I'm saying. The more stuff that you can reuse, even if you have to make them new, the people who made them originally still know how to make them. You see what I'm saying?
So someone just mentioned Frankenstein.
Right.
BMAC just mentions Frankenstein's monster. Look at how that turned out. That's actually a very interesting point.
Okay, that was a story.
It was, but hang on, it's a good analogy.
Yes.
In that, in my opinion, rather than trying to reuse the existing infrastructure that we've got, I understand why they wanted to do that, but they shouldn't have done that. They should have started from scratch and said, this is our objective, this is what we want to do, what is the best vehicle that can get us there? What technology can we build that will do that? And maybe that means building a new vehicle, or maybe that means using an ELV to do a Delta IV Heavy to do what we need to do. Maybe it means doing a direct model, but rather than do that, they looked at it backwards, I think, and they said, what can we do to save the most jobs, and what can we do to use the most infrastructure that we've already got, not what will accomplish our objectives. Now, speaking out of the other side of my mouth, they have X budget.
Junkyard Wars, hello.
It's not the Apollo days, right? In the Apollo days, they said, this is our objective, now give us all the money we need to accomplish said objective. Now this is our objective, now give us the money we need, and they go, no. No, you got to fight for that.
Right? I mean, come on.
Yeah. I see both sides of it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with either side of it. I just, these are the options on the table today. I would love to get your comments and feedback in our chat room at spacevidcast.com. Open it up. Let us know what you think. What's going to actually be the future? Are we really looking at an Aries launcher? They're still forging forward with Aries, by the way. Yeah. Aries 1X is on track-ish.
We're way too deep in that one.
Well, we are. That's just it. We're knees deep in Aries right now. Are they really going to stop everything that they've invested in Aries and move towards a direct architecture or a side-mounted shuttle architecture? Really? I mean, really? But at the same time, Aries has so many issues. Can they continue down that path?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Maybe.
Well, and NASA is bogged down in bureaucracy. Can NASA get its head out of its
backside
rocket? Good questions. I don't know. I mean, it's not privatized. This is government.
Right.
So there's a lot of red tape and a lot of just stuff. And now, one thing I do disagree. Hanson did mention NASA should be stripped and rebuilt by new space folk. And I completely disagree with that. New space needs NASA just as much as NASA needs new space.
Yes.
They need each other.
There's definitely a hand-in-hand thing that has to go on.
And when we say there are faults at NASA, we talk as an organizational chart. We know a lot of people in NASA, and a lot of people in NASA Twitter and are part of the blogging and 2.0, and frankly, they're incredibly intelligent people.
Yes.
In fact, I would say some of the brightest rocket scientists in the world are working somehow with NASA.
Right.
We don't want to lose that brain trust. We don't want to have a rehash of the Apollo to Space Shuttle transition.
Exactly.
That would be bad.
Exactly.
We need to maintain that brain trust at NASA. And I don't think shutting down NASA is actually a good idea. I think that would actually be a bad idea. I don't think rebuilding it with new space all at one swipe is a good idea either.
Right.
There are benefits to NASA. There are absolutely benefits to NASA. The problem right now is they're stretched too thin. And that's just the way it is. So.
Right, absolute space girl, exactly. That's exactly what we're saying. It's the political system. The engineers are great. The old guys are great. They have the experience. My father referenced, he said it's kind of an Obi-Wan kind of thing. You've got to go to the guy who's done it before. And even fresh eyes. You definitely need the fresh eyes to look at it from a different perspective. But you need the old guys to know what's happened before. We
need them both.
There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. There just isn't.
I disagree with the whole idea of dismantling NASA or getting rid of NASA. I don't think that's the right move. I think that there is a place. They are the world's largest space organization right now, as far as I know, other than military space.
Right.
World's largest space organization. New space needs them.
Yeah.
And they need new space. And it's a really awesome synergy that we've got going on right now. And a lot of what's coming out of NASA can be found in SpaceX and other companies. Now, I realize SpaceX, there are our own engines, their own everything else. But you know what? I happen to know that NASA engineers are there helping them out, giving them some tips and tricks. So, you know what? Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Anyhow, I'll get off that soapbox. I want to know what you think. Do you agree? Do you think it should be direct? Do you think it should be the side-mounted orbiter Plan B, as they're calling it? Do you think we should continue down the Aries path? Aries 1, Aries 5, whatever 7, I forgot what it's called after that. They just keep getting bigger and bigger. They get so
23.
big. They do. They get so big to the point where I think they're just going to shatter all of the windows in the city. It's just going to it's going to be awesome. You like that? That was
I
a nice
like
little
that. Yeah,
special effect.
That was good.
Let us know at spacevidcast.com. Of course, we love to chat with you guys live. You guys make this show awesome. Live is where it's at. You can join us live every week, every Friday at 2 o'clock a.m. Coordinated Universal Time. For those of you in the United States, that's 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time, 8 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time, 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. I did that one. Do you see that?
Yeah,
Mountain Time.
I'm very impressed.
Did it again.
Very
just for
impressed.
You guys. Join us live. We'd love to see you guys live. And if you can't do that, watch us on YouTube. We've got some pretty cool things going up on YouTube. We've got the full Augustine Commission cut into speaker.
37 hours or whatever it was.
It is 7 hours of this.
It's a lot.
The thing is, you really should watch it.
It's another one of those things, I will be completely honest, it's boring as all get out, but it's interesting as well. You need your blast-off blend for this stuff, people, because you have to stay awake for, it's kind of like we were saying with Buzz Aldrin's talk. It's like, there's some of it that you've heard before or whatever, and you're kind of sitting there and you're like, yeah, get to the good stuff, but you don't want to fall asleep before the good stuff comes.
Absolutely. Get your blast-off blend, help Crow River Coffee, help us, help you, so forth and so on. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week.